Hello, thank you so much, guys, for joining. I'm Debo Jyoti, and today we have Coco Lafousfous. She's a very well-known aerialist, a performer, a performance artist. And Coco, nice meeting you. And like, I would like to know how would you like to be introduced, or what tag you like associate yourself more, an athlete or an artist? Because what you do is equal part art and sports, at least in my eyes. So yeah, how are you and what tag would you prefer in front of your name?
I would say that intro you just gave me was very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think I would see myself more as an artist, mostly because I think to be an athlete, you need to have a certain level of like competitiveness, of wanting to be the best, of wanting to win. That's not really anything I've had in my life. I just want to create and find joy, and whether I'm the best or the worst, I mean, it's all subjective. So I think performance artist is definitely the tag I would most respond to, not athlete.
Coco, with the makeup, I can totally see that you have turned up to perform as well. You have your performance hat on. So Coco, so first look, so what I do in this interviews as well, I like to know the person behind the artist, or the person that know. So how did you grow up? What was your childhood like, and how did you come into this aerial form of performance art? Because it's niche, it's a very niche profession, right? How was your childhood?
So I grew up in a relatively small town. I think there was like 10 or 20,000 people that lived in the town. So medium size for most places. I actually grew up like really poor. We didn't have a lot of money. So I found myself like using my imagination and playing outside more and being able to kind of create fun that way. And then through kind of some good luck and being at the right place at the right time, I was able to find, I'm not sure what you guys would call it, but like middle school and high school where they were more artistic driven. Like I went to an arts high school, and that kind of just made me go, oh, you can have like a job in the arts field. You can like, you don't, it's not Brad Pitt or nothing. It's not absolute A-list or absolute nothing. There's a whole in between area where you can create art and really just have a job that way. So kind of growing up like in not of the best financial circumstances, it did take a lot of work to just get to a point to be like, oh, yeah, this is a career, this is a job. So kind of when I started college and university, a lot of the professors would say like, you're not going to make a lot of money as an artist. You're not, don't expect to be glamorous. And I was like, I've lived that. I know where the bottom is. So if I can work my way into the middle, I'll be pretty happy. So yeah, I studied dance, and I used to perform violin a lot when I was more of an instrumentalist. I fell into my love of musical theater, which pushed me more into dance. Once I had like graduated college, I think I mentioned this a little earlier. So it's where I live right now is very cold, and I got very tired of.
Guys, this is minus 30 degrees. So people who are watching from India, we cannot even picturize what a minus 30 may look like. So
Yeah,
just imagine that's minus 30.
yeah, and that's Fahrenheit and Celsius. So that -30 is when they cross over, when it doesn't matter if you're saying Fahrenheit or Celsius. So yeah, I woke up and it was like, so after I'd graduated college, I was like,
We would freeze in both minus 30 Fahrenheit and Celsius. So the matrix doesn't even matters to us. Anything less than like 10, we are done.
it's so cold. It's so, I mean, like, and you need to have the right gear, like you gotta have a right good jacket and things. I am not dressed for the weather right now.
No, not at all.
But I got so sick of the cold, and so I moved to California. And while I was in Los Angeles, I had found an aerial art studio, and I'd always kind of like, I liked the circus, I liked Cirque du Soleil, I love to dance and move my body. So I found the studio that was like very welcoming. If you're ever in a chance to go to Airform Arts in Hollywood, check it out. But yeah, it was something I kind of just fell into while I was in Los Angeles and trying to find a new way to move my body, a new way to express my creativity. Just come from choreographing we did this really weird ballet in college where it was Romeo and Juliet, but told through the soundtrack of Tron Legacy, if you've seen that movie.
Yes, I have.
The Daft Punk, yeah. So we used from pretty much start to finish the same album. No, like I think we didn't do the grid, but otherwise all the songs were in order, and we just told a completely different story through dance and through movement. So then when I
Wow.
moved to Los Angeles, I was like, I want to do more of that. Found the aerial and the circus community and ended up producing, directing, and choreographing 2 more shows we did, or 3 more shows. So I had one that was a little autobiographical called Behind the Curtain. And then I did Dorothy from Wizard of Oz meets Alice in Wonderland production. And then we did a retelling of a famous ballet called Cirque de Giselle. So the original ballet is called Giselle, but we did Cirque de Giselle. And I was very lucky. We got to work with a lot of former Cirque du Soleil artists. We got to work with people who would go on to be a part of Cirque du Soleil. So it's something for me. I'm like, this feels like a nice little treasure. But yeah, I would say that's kind of how I grew up to be this person. And then I got tired of LA and was like, I do kind of miss snow and cold.
Minus 30 degrees.
Yeah, no, I don't miss finding a nice, like, I don't know what it would be in Celsius. I think it'd be closer to like 0 in Celsius, 30 Fahrenheit. That's a happy place for me. If I've got a coat on and some gloves. But yeah, negative 30 is not, no, I don't want to hang out with the person that loves negative 30.
Yeah, I will also question my choices. If anyone loves minus 30 degree, yeah, absolutely. I'll go on to your career, Coco. But first of all, and this is like me really getting like really curious about what is life like in Wisconsin, because apart from Fargo and Wind River, no Hollywood movies show Wisconsin, right? They only show, you guys only show LA and New York and Texas at times. How is life like in Wisconsin? Because like the little I know, it's like it's very sparsely populated. The population is very low, right? And it's extremely cold. So talk a little bit about life in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so like I said, growing up, I lived in a town of like 20,000 people. Then I moved to Los Angeles, which was like millions and millions of people. And now the towns that I live in and the towns that are around me are all measured in hundreds of people. So I think we're at like 150, maybe 200 people in our entire town. Very like in the forest, tall trees, nobody around me. We're sitting on about 40 or 50 acres of land. So I really like it because it gives me a chance to do productions out here when it's not cold. I can like go out
Actually,
into the
I need
woods.
to tell you this. So you have posted like videos on Instagram about the place and stuff, right? So when I originally saw, I actually thought you're from North Canada, because North Canada has that like the similar Wisconsin vibe. Now I know this. So yeah, my first thought is she also looks like quite French Canadian as well. So she's probably a Canadian. Now I know that you're from Wisconsin.
No, I
So
mean
yeah,
we're neighbors, so it's like the Great Lakes area.
yeah.
But yeah, like today it is unbearably cold. It's going to be much warmer tomorrow, which will be nice. But outside of that, like it's been a huge shift from like when I lived in the big city of Los Angeles. I didn't have time to get to know my neighbors. I was very shy in general. So like wanting to reach out to somebody that like I moved a lot too. So I was only ever in a house for like a year. I think I moved almost every year that I lived there, to now where I've lived in the same place for a few years. I'm actually getting to know my neighbors, most of who are like very kind, very helpful. Like we've gotten our car stuck in the snow and they've been like, yeah, we'll pull it out, no charge, come over for dinner, it's fine. Like just having that community sense. I will also say that it is a little scary out here. Not like, this is the weird part, because I'm not scared of like bears or wolves or coyotes, like all this stuff we do have, and I've seen the tracks, I've seen them in the yard. I'm not scared of them, but I am like a little scared of some of the like ignorance.
People?
Yeah, like the ignorance and the
Okay.
fascism, and that's kind of scary out here. But the big thing I do, like the biggest thing I miss about living in a big city like Los Angeles is I really love Indian food. So we don't have any Indian, like I've got
So,
to get my
any you have free invitation in West Bengal? whenever you visit West Bengal, yes, I'll be your tour guide, come like
Mm,
food instructor, everything.
yes,
This is like a lifetime offer. Whenever you come, yeah, we're good.
I would love that. I've only been to Bangalore and Uti. We went to Uti for like a really quick minute, but like, oh my gosh, India. I would love. I'm getting my passport renewed, so I'm holding you to that.
Absolutely yes.
Like, ooh,
Absolutely yes.
I
And
miss.
yes, since you guys live close to Canada and Canadian people are nice, I trust you.
I mean, yeah, people are very nice, but there is like, without getting too into it, like there is this scary political climate with a lot of
Yeah, let's
ignorance.
not dive into that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
understood.
yeah.
Anyway, so Coco, so the thing that you do, aerialism or the aerial performance art, like my first thought was this is awesome, and my second thought was this is dangerous. So
Yes.
talk about like the percentage of risk. First, like if you like describe the aerialism as an art form, that would be like very enlightening for us. And secondly, the like the risk percentage, because that was like my first of all, it's gorgeous to look at, but then I thought like my god, like back of your hair stands. So yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, aerial is incredibly dangerous. People do still get severely injured doing this, like permanent injuries. I had a friend who lost her four front teeth doing aerial. I have always gone in like my circus name is Scaredy Cat. Like I go in kind of like
What does that even mean?
so like a scaredy cat is kind of like a cat that's like a little bit of afraid. It's like a colloquial here where if you're gonna call someone like scared, you're scared of everything. Oh, you're scared of it. You're a scaredy cat. So my secret circus name is just Scaredy Cat because like even though I do these incredible stunts and splits and drops, I am most of the time a little bit afraid. Like I'm always checking my rigging, I'm always checking my setup. I've had to decline a lot of work because I didn't feel like the setup was going to be safe. Because for some of these stunts, when you're seeing these huge drops, the downforce can be in the like thousands of pounds. And so I need to make sure that where I'm hooked up to, the thing that's hooked up to that, the thing that's like all of it needs to be able to support me and keep me safe through my stunts. I also teach a lot of aerial, so it's the same there where if I wherever I'm teaching, I want to make sure that the rigging is set up properly and safely. But that aside, like it is a lot of fun. Like you kind of mentioned how like the crossover with athleticism, like I always call it an accidental workout because you just get to kind of feel like a kid. You're climbing up, you're wrapping yourself up, or you're twisting yourself around a bar, and it just all has this energy of like play to it. So you can kind of forget that it's like when you wake up the next day, you're like, oh, so sore. What did I do? Well, you went upside down about 10 or 15 times and it all adds up. I will say though, one thing I like I've never tried it and I desperately have wanted to try is like Malakambh, which is like the origins of a lot of pole dance from India. And I'm like, if I ever get a chance, oh, it looks so much fun.
Again, again, free invitation for life.
Yeah.
Indian people, if anything, if anything, like I can proudly say, Indian people are the most hospitable people on earth. You have been to India, you can understand. You're like, hello, ma'am, like come here, sit, chai pijiye, like chai pijiye, man, have some tea. The people are super duper nice. So yeah, you should come. And Coco, so since you mentioned and it's quite dangerous, it's beautiful and dangerous, and I always see what you do as a merry union between art and sports. So it's like a quite a no, maybe not art meets sports, maybe a quite an athletic expression of art. I'll put it that way. So and it's a form of storytelling as well, right? You are telling a story. You are telling a story. It's a form of drama. It's a form of storytelling. So tell me, how is the communication done? Because again, it's a very niche form of art. We don't see that very often in India. That's like I don't think, yeah, anything of like that even exists. If it does, I'm not aware. So like tell me, like how guys you like how is it as an art form? How you guys like convey the story that you want to tell it as an art form?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, it's a really good question because there are people that do prefer the more athletic side of it where people are like, I'm not going to try to tell a story. I just want to show you my pull up and how strong I am. And I have nothing but respect for those artists as well, or for those performers. But for myself, like I came from a theater background where it was all live performance and wanting to tell a story in a physical space with people right there. So for me, I kind of went from stage plays where there's dialogue telling the story to ballet, not necessarily just like the style of ballet, but like telling a story through dance without any kind of dialogue or verbs or speaking at all. So then when I started learning aerial, it kind of became like a very natural progression. Like for ballet or for dance theater, people want to see the movement live. It's just very different experience to see it in front of your face and have the mind kind of fill in the gaps where there aren't words. So then going to aerial, like it was, you have to walk this fine line between let's see all these really cool tricks, because you want, like, people work really hard to show those and create those. We want those, but we also want to tell a story. So for instance, one of like the stories I told was about three sisters finding a circus and kind of finding themselves within it. So each sister kind of had a moment where, you know, one sister might be like a little bit shy. So as she's approaching like a hoop, she approaches it a little softer, but then as she starts to fly, she kind of opens up and expresses more. Then maybe another sister was like a little bit more aggressive and had a little bit more fight and fire. So for her, it was like, okay, now we want to pull out the big tricks because that's the energy and that's the character we want to show. So for me, like kind of telling a story through aerial becomes a lot about immediately expressing a certain character so that the audience can kind of go, okay, I know who this person is. And then through movement, changing that character so that the audience can kind of go along with it. They're like, she's this, but we can see what she's becoming and kind of follow the story that way. Because it is really hard to tell a story without any words. And then, of course, not to get too distracted by like, oh, she's doing the splits in the air, yay, which is cool, but doesn't always tell a story. So it is really difficult, but I just love telling stories. I love creating theater. So for me, it's like I will do that hurdle every day of the week that I can.
So, Coco, you mentioned we spoke about finance earlier in the podcast. So, I would really like to know how is the ecosystem of performance arts go, especially since it's a quite a niche form of art. So, do you guys do live shows, or is there any airtime on television? I'd really like to know it is as a livelihood. You can take this as a question, and how does this ecosystem work? Is it completely through live shows, or there are like television aspects of it, or any other aspect to it?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on a lot of things. I think if I wanted to just purely be a performer and only make money and support myself through live performance, I could not do that here. I would have need to stay in Los Angeles or Las Vegas. Maybe New York is a little bit harder just because there's not space and everything is just so much more expensive. But I would need to be in those entertainment centers in order to support myself as like just a performer. For me, I really like teaching aerial. I like making this art form a little less niche. I like kind of opening doors for people to kind of discover how they like to perform or what stories they want to tell. So I'm able to teach a couple of days a week. I think I teach about 3 or 4 classes when I do go in. So it's about 3 or 4 hours of intense aerial back to back. And then I do still perform. So I perform with a troupe based out of Wisconsin called the Torch Sisters. And because we do love this art form, and even though in person is so amazing, it's kind of nice that we're in this era where I get to talk to you and you're not even on my side of the planet.
Not even your hemisphere.
We're not in the same hemisphere, we're not on the same side of the planet. So one thing that we have started to do is to create live stream shows. Like we've streamed some of our cabarets on YouTube, which is a chance for our performers to create an aerial act, sometimes telling a story, sometimes just entertainment through stunts. And we stream them live, but because it's on YouTube, people can also have a chance to rewatch. We do about 3 or 4 shows a year. So if you follow me or you follow the Torch Sisters and you want to see one of our shows, we post about them. There's all this information for our virtual shows where you can watch once they're done streaming, you can watch them anytime, as much as you want. And I'm hoping that kind of bridges the gap so that people who might not have the chance or have the money to go see a big Cirque du Soleil show or a big circus show, they can still get exposed to and enjoy the art form. And as someone who's very shy, I really like it because it's like, I could just watch from my house. I don't want to have to go out. And I'm an introvert that pretends to be an outrovert.
So yeah, what was your stage name again?
So my stage name is Coco Lafousfous. Lafousfous meaning the crazy's crazy. So even
No, that cat thing.
Say again?
The cat thing that you mentioned, the scared cat.
My other name is Scaredy Cat because I am like a little bit shy and I get very, I know, but I am like very shy as myself. Like when I'm fully Coco Lafousfous mode, the shyness goes away. But when there's no makeup and there's no sparkles, it's like, I'm just a little kitty cat. I just want to sit in the sunlight.
Okay, so you're scaredy cat actually as a person, and then you have a split personality called Coco Lafoufou, right? So this is like that M. Night Shyamalan movie of split personality, split 2.
A little bit.
So yeah, so Coco, so since I obviously know this before, and you have already mentioned, so you're both a performer and a choreographer, right? So what is like the difference between, like, obviously there is a difference, you are performing and so you have seen both sides of the spectrum, right? So what do you enjoy more?
If I'm being 100% honest with myself, I like the creation and the choreography more. I love to come up with the ideas for moves and sequences and dance and how the movement should be performed. But for myself, I don't always see myself as the strongest performer, just because there's people who I admire as performers tend to create a single performance or a single act and they rehearse it and they love it. So then they take it on tour and they perform it everywhere they can. And for me, like, I love that. I find that admirable. But for myself, I'm like, I want to create and then make somebody else do it. I want to watch I do feel very limited. Like if my body is my paintbrush, there's only so much I can do, especially as I get older. So getting to work with and create movement and performances and theatrical storytelling for other people, and I get to just kind of watch. At the end of the day, I'm like, oh, this brings me more joy, is the creation, less so the like hard work of polishing and remembering within a performance. If
that makes sense, yeah. So Coco, I'd like to also, since you mentioned that you're quite a shy, laid back sort of a person, so like, and the performance that you're doing, it's very physically demanding. You're performing in front of people. A lot of time you're in a revealing dress, so that may, like, obviously there is that effects as well. So like how did you convince yourself to do that? Like, so do you feel do you feel stage fright, or even, I'll just ask it directly, do you feel like male gaze or waiting on you, or the stage fright? And maybe both may be related as well.
I feel a little bit of stage fright. It's definitely gone away with practice. I think a lot of times my shyness can be more of like my personal side, if that makes sense, as opposed
mental
to like,
side.
yeah, as
Mental
opposed
side.
to like, this is the person who I am on stage, Coco Lafoufou, when she's on stage. This is this version of myself. And with that, I'm like, I do get nervous because I always want to do a good job and I want to entertain. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to make the audience like feel like good job. So I do get like a little bit nervous. But what I've found over the years is there's not another option for me. Like I've had a lot of day jobs and I still like do a lot of work in different jobs. But no matter what ends up happening, I always come back to wanting to get on stage and wanting to perform. And I love the like spectrum that different performance styles can bring. So I've done very traditional circus styles, but I also do perform burlesque, which is a form of like striptease and a much more sensual side of things. And yeah, I can't. I've tried to escape it, but it just keeps pulling me back in. Every time I think I'm out, pull me back in.
So yeah, so since you mentioned burlesque, and which is like we associate burlesque with sex appeal, right? It's
Yeah.
sexiness. So like, how do you balance both? Because the aerialism is completely, it's a physical thing. There is storytelling, there is, but it's completely physical. Where burlesque is lot more like it's sensual. It's like more like what I should say, more feminine in that way. I guess the maybe the I'm not saying that aerialism is not feminine, but like in a traditional way. If you like from a heterosexual male perspective, and that's the only perspective I have, unfortunately. Yeah. So how like how do you like went from aerialism to burlesque? You.
There is a fair amount of crossover. I think the hard part of doing aerial and burlesque together, when I do a lot of aerial, I'm fairly covered, not just because like I'm in these weird angles and I don't want, I don't want to look like too embarrassing or too weird, but it's mostly I'm very covered because like the fabric will burn your skin. Like I've had fabric burn my skin off more times than I can count. I've had the metal hoop like pull and bruise my skin. So if I have a little bit of covering, it helps protect me. But I have done aerial and burlesque. I just have to be very careful with which moves I choose to do so that I don't hurt myself too bad. But there is a fair amount of crossover just because a lot of aerial can be done as like a solo. And so people might start in one costume and then as they go to the air, they might take off a cape. And then just the history of burlesque, there's an old saying where it's like you got to have a gimmick being like the thing that hooks people in. Like she's a contortionist. She can put her legs behind her head or sit on her, like just all these crazy things. And so a lot of people's gimmick tends to be that circusy side, tends to be like, oh, I can allow you to enjoy me taking my clothes off, but I'm also going to blow your mind by being in the air and being in these crazy shapes at the same time. So it is difficult to cross them over, but it does happen. There is a lot of really cool burlesque artists that do aerial and vice versa.
So yeah, and another crossover that we see, and I have seen players of it. It's the burlesque and acting. That's a crossover we see all the time. So have you say do are you passionate about acting because you have done theater as you mentioned, you're passionate about theater and you do what is essentially a form of storytelling, right? So what is your thought on acting? And that is coming from a person who loves movies. You can see the first name.
Same boat. I love movies. I love acting. I do find myself to be more confident like without a script. So that's where kind of like dance performance acting kind of blends in. But like I haven't done a lot of acting. I wouldn't mind doing more. It just hasn't been the main thing I've been chasing in the past few years. But I love acting. I love the chances I've gotten to perform in that way. So wouldn't say no to some more acting gigs, but again, I don't live in the entertainment world or I'm not as close to it anymore. So those opportunities aren't as much, but I love the few times I've gotten to act. I'd do more.
Yeah, so you mentioned the crossover, and we have seen like throughout history there has been a consistent crossover between burlesque and Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood actresses started as burlesque artists, even pop singers as well, Madonna, people like that. So since you mentioned that you're a performer, you see more as a performer than an actress, right? You prefer off script. Now we see a lot of, and especially that has gone through the roof after OTT and Netflix has come in, is the one act shows. we see one act shows. Like we used to have like the variety shows of old, right?
Yeah.
So the variety shows where people will do all kinds of stuff. There will be a comedy, there will be gymnasium, there will be a bunch of stuff, slapstick comedy, which is again a very physical thing. So, like, do you see yourself more comfortable in that zone? Because I can see there is like you can totally do a solo 1 hour. You can do like burlesque, you can do gymnastics. You can easily be like comfortable in that zone. So, I like, have you thought about it?
I've definitely thought about it a lot. Yeah, it's something that I think I would like to sit down and create just because like I do think I have like an interesting story to tell. Like I've lived a lot of hats, but I haven't done it yet, only I think because I do like to the stories my mind creates aren't always like one person shows. My
More
mind tends to
collaborative.
create. Yeah, I really love to collaborate, and I just think that what comes naturally to me is to write 2 or 3 people shows where there's yeah, that's just what ends up coming more naturally to me is like I've got shows on the back burner where I need to start storyboarding them and getting them ready for their next step in life. And I've thought about doing a one-woman show. I've thought about it a lot. It's just something that in terms of like creation, a lot of times I'll get like a spark of an idea and I'll just let it run. But there hasn't been that for like a one-woman show. Not yet. So maybe someday in the future, but as of right now, it's kind of been not something my mind has naturally created yet. But maybe someday.
Yeah, we'll see. And because like since the advent of OTTs, these one act shows have been very popular. The variety shows where we don't see the stand up comedy, we see a bunch of things. So I think maybe we're evolving to that level as well. That since the live performances are decreasing, the attendance and all that, and there are like million reasons for that. These OTT platforms are providing like a good space for performance artists as well, right? And I think it's evolving to that. Even in India as well, I see like people like the performance artists, like the dance compositions and stuff. They get like massive views on YouTube, on OTT. They are very popular. So I guess yeah, we are evolving to like a OTT revolution of performance art. Maybe in, I don't know, maybe 5, 7 years, 10 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited with where a lot of the social media and everything has kind of been taking is it's bringing it more to the forefront and definitely introducing more weird forms of creativity to a bigger audience. So we'll see what happens in the future. I tend not to say no to opportunities. If it feels right, I'm like, I'll go for it.
Absolutely, yes, Coco. And Coco, I'll go into like the fun stuff of your hobbies and stuff. But just one last thing I would like to ask about aerialism is the fitness aspect. Now, I obviously we talk on Instagram. I know that how like your fitness regime is like very strict. So, like, what kind of fitness we are looking at, and you can see that I'm the like I should not even be asking about fitness because you can see my double chin, right? So I should not be even be
Oh,
asking.
no,
I
no,
should not be even
no.
asking, but what kind of fitness we are looking to even like to even perform the way that you do, that you people do.
I'm shutting that down because you look fine. There's no right or wrong body type for aerial or for dance.
Thank you.
My rule is if you come to my classes and you try your best and you don't get hurt, then that's it. Like I've gotten stronger from doing aerial. I don't think it was until I was about like 5 years into my aerial training that I was like, I should go to the gym. Like I would just take classes and that's how I got stronger. That's how I got more flexible. And just being a part of the aerial community, that's how I kind of developed. But I personally don't like, I had a cheeseburger earlier today. I don't stick to my
You
diet
give
as
me
well as I
confidence.
should. Like,
You really give me confidence. I'll go and have a cheeseburger now.
I've
It's
inspired you.
it's
I've
midnight
inspired
in
you.
India tomorrow, so yeah, it's midnight in India now. So Ariel, so Coco, so since we have talked about a lot of the aerial stuff, now let's talk about you as a person. So what are the things that interest you? You obviously told you like watching movies. So what you do, like what are you like as a person and your hobbies are?
I don't know. Like I tend to think I'm a normal person. I love movies. I love video games are definitely like my crime of life is like I will just lose wait, I'll put off work to like, I don't need to go do, the aerial training. I need to finish playing Half-Life for the third time. I need to get on to Fallout. I need to play. I love video games are my vice. Like I've lost way too much important time just playing video games. But I also I love being in nature. That's like why I live out here. I don't like these super cold days, but I do just love being out in nature, being amongst trees. One of my all-time favorite memories of being in the woods was when I was in Uti and getting to go through the teak tree forest. Like it just felt so beautiful there. Yeah, I love nature. I like movies, not all movies. I don't like scary movies too much. And I love video games. So to me, that all seems normal. But then, people see me like this and they're like, yeah, you're not normal.
So yeah, so I have no idea about video games, so I'll just to stick to
Yeah,
movies.
we'll stick
What
to
kind of
movies.
yeah, we will stick to movies. Movie buff, I need to live up to my name, right? So yeah, so what kind of movies that you enjoy? You mentioned that you don't enjoy horror movies. I love horror movies and I'm absolutely not normal. But yeah, what kind of movies you enjoy?
Well, I've been encroached. I have a lot of friends who love horror movies, so they're kind of slowly getting me into them. I did just go see the new Robert Eggers.
Not, not sure. I actually went there. I went
Oh,
yesterday.
so good.
My this is called Connection. Like
It's so good. Like I heard that he
it's
was
so
doing that
good.
movie. I was like, because I live so remote, we had to drive 3.5 hours to go to a theater to watch the movie. But it was, yeah, I don't live near anything. But that's what I like until I have to go see I want to go see Nosferatu because it's an incredible story. And also Robert Eggers. I love that guy. So it's just I loved The Lighthouse. I loved The Witch. Let's go watch Nosferatu. I don't know why people said it was scary. It didn't feel. It was beautiful, but it wasn't. It's
It's
scary.
beautiful. It looked beautiful. And I think it's like less about, it's more gothic in nature, which doesn't equate to horror. Now, that's the big thing, like people, like it's a retelling of Dracula, right? It's a recontextualization of Dracula. But yeah, I love the movie and absolutely Robert Eggers. I loved like the witch, the lighthouse is like it's a very similar place to maybe Wisconsin because again it's middle of nowhere, a lighthouse, two people, and like things are happening.
So
Yeah.
in The Lighthouse, the Robert Pattinson's character, I forget what his name is in the movie, but his character was a logger. Like he would cut down trees in the turn of the
Yeah.
century, and that is our big industry here at that time. Like he
Okay.
would have
Oh,
worked right here, where it's you cut down the logs,
okay.
you throw them on the river, and away they go. So yeah, that. And I think his
So
character might have even been from Wisconsin. It wasn't featured in the movie, but I think he was a Wisconsinite that I don't want to spoil the movie
okay.
if anybody watching hasn't seen it, but go watch it. It's very good.
So yeah, Wisconsin seems like a great place. Like nobody lives there. Wolf may come out. It's the sort of place that people like me will love to live. Absolutely, yes. So since we
Yeah.
are talking about Wisconsin this much, you are a Wisconsin girl. How did you pick up Indian foods? Because Wisconsin is not, because India and Wisconsin are like it's not near. It's you have to drive a lot.
I do have to drive a lot. On average, so to get to work, I don't know what it is in kilometers, but it's 100 miles each way to work.
My good God, you'd
Yeah.
be different state in India. You'd be in different state. You'd be West Bengal. It'll end up in Bihar or something.
Well, I think if I was going a different, no, I think I'm good. I'd stay in Wisconsin 100 miles anyway.
No, the thing is, USA is a much bigger country than India as well. So the states are bigger as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been to India once. You guys got some pretty big states, but I kind of always loved the Indian culture. I wouldn't say I still know a lot about it. I know again a little bit, but when I was living in Los Angeles, my partner got an internship to go to India for 2 months, and he was working in Bangalore for 2 months. And then when he came back, it was all I want to eat is Indian food. And I was like, I don't know what to order. So if you order it, I'll eat it. And then we both were just like, this is how we live now. We only eat, we try to eat as much Indian food as possible just because that's what we got used to and that's what we love. And now living in the middle of nowhere, it's ordering the pre-made curries on Amazon because I don't know what I'm doing. Like it just doesn't taste as good. But
So
yeah, it
what
was.
a down. Now you're going into my second obsession, and that is food. You can see my pics, right?
Ah,
Yeah. So
oh,
what Indian foods like? It will turn into like a food vlog, I guess. What are the Indian foods that you love?
I will. So the things that I love the most that I can't make, because like you can get a curry going, you put on some rice, or you make some rotis. That we can kind of do at home. But like samosas,
So
I know we're using like we make. There's a butter masala curry that's kind of the paste.
understood, yeah.
Yeah. The very Americanized ones, the tikka masala, the butter curry. And I know I'm going to be butchering it, but there's one that's like jalfrezi curry that I really like. Madras brand, like I know these are pre-made, but I
So if
love
you make
biryani.
like tikka masala in Indian, like in Indian way, the amount of spice that we put in, and that's like in any food, a non-Indian person either would love the food or die.
I did survive. I think the last time I got Indian food, I got and this is it, like I love samosas because I can't make them, and I love biryani because I can't make. I think I ordered it mild or medium, but like it was so spicy, so right. Like I thought I was gonna die, but I was like, I can't stop because it's biryani and it's so good. I just want more. Just like actively sweating and being like, it's fine. If I
Yeah,
die
yeah,
by biryani, that's
it would be so spicy. It would be burning. Your mouth will be burning. You still cannot. So it's a performance art in it. So yeah. Yeah, I'll not talk into food because otherwise this podcast will go like 5 hours.
I was very happy that I got to, when I did go to India, I went during Diwali. And so the people that we knew there, they served us, I don't know what it was because when I was in India, I was just like, feed me anything. This is all delicious. I don't have time to
Did
learn the
you?
names,
So
but they
did they
served
feed
us
you
like,
something like that, like yellow, small, roundish?
yeah.
It's called laddu. It's a sweet. It's a dessert.
I mean, they served us this like big, beautiful Hindi dinner on like banana leaves. So I was just like, again, and when I was
Was
in
it
India, it was
vegetarian
like
or
anything you put in
non-vegetarian?
front of me. It was
Was it?
all vegetarian while we were there.
Okay, yeah. So you ended up in Bangalore, right? And by the way, my office is in Bangalore, although I work from home. And Uti is in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so this is in South India. So
Yeah.
South Indian people, the higher percentage, they eat vegetarian food. It's because of their culture. We here in North India are the actual stuff, the like the heavy spice. So we are so this is like the food they eat in South India. It's like the PG 13. Okay, it's next level. So
Yeah.
yeah, you should come to West Bengal. Again, you will either die or love it. Maybe both at the
I
same
will
time.
die loving it, I think is what's going to happen is I will love it right up until the end. That is my fate of a horror movie. If this was Final Destination, my final destination would be me eating that spicy biryani and be like, okay, this is how I go.
So yeah, so have you watched like any Indian movies or Indian songs? Because movies are big in India. It's
I
like part
I
of
have
our
not watched
culture.
enough. I will say I have not watched enough. The last one I can remember watching, it was really good. I think it was called like Video Games. It was a horror movie, but it was about a woman who was a video game programmer who had this like horrible traumatic incident as a child. But then, like, as she grew up, it felt like it was happening all over again in a supernatural way. But then it just was like a home invasion. Like, I don't remember all of it, but I remember like I got hooked on the name because it said video games. And then watching it, I was like, oh, this is like kind of scary. This is like home invasion. Someone in my house, but making me think that there's like ghosts trying to get me, but also trying to kill me. Like, it was,
Okay, yeah, I have not watched. So what are the other movies that you have watched?
I need to watch more. Like, I have like a couple on my playlist for Bollywood movies. I think that's the only one that comes to mind in terms of Indian movies. I give me some recs when we're done with this stream though, because
Absolutely, yes, I'll do that. So Coco, so since you mentioned that you love acting, you love you love performing, so where do you see yourself in maybe in next 5 years?
not the next 5 years question.
This is the cliched interview question. I
Yeah,
was trying to break the cliches, but yeah.
I mean, no, it's a good one. I think in the next 5 years, I would like to honestly produce more aerial theater in a virtual realm because it does, like, I love live performance. There's something magical about being in front of somebody who is performing and putting on a story or a, act or whatever. But it's so limiting. Like, you can only be in that one moment in that one room, which means people from India, people from everywhere, like, you can only get so many people in one space. So I think in the next 5 years, I would like to create more story-driven aerial productions that would be able to be streamed worldwide, so that it isn't just, well, the people in Los Angeles got to see this show. Aren't you jealous? Oh, the people in New York got to see this show. Don't you wish you were there? Because I don't know, that's what a lot of growing up, it felt like that. I was like, I want to see these amazing shows, but like, not to age myself, but like, the internet wasn't really a thing back then. So you just didn't have even the avenues to go watch the shows. It would just be like, yep, it was great. That's what I heard, but I never got to see it. So I think in the next 5 years, I want to create more shows where people can watch them online, can enjoy them online, and are still as magical as seeing the person face to face. So I think, that's hopefully what my future holds.
So yes, Coco, absolutely, that was great to hear. You'll be going to explore the digital place, and performance art is gaining massive amount of traction in digital space. So I think in the next few years, this is going to be the next kind of a big thing in the digital space. Because why redheads are much cooler than blondes or brunettes? And you have to answer this.
So I want to make sure I heard the question right. Why are redheads cooler than blondes and brunettes?
Yeah.
I love the question because I have two sisters, and one of my sisters is blonde and the other one's brunette. So I'm a little bit over here like, yeah, the redheads are more. I think it's because like, it's just bold enough to be, oh, she's a redhead, but it's not so bold that people kind of, she's got purple hair, oh, she's got blue hair. It's like, okay, redhead is like just on that border of being too weird for society. We still are kind of okay.
So it's like the punk rock band. It's weird for society, but you still accept it.
Yeah, like I can have red hair and be a punk and be a weird artist, but with red hair, I can still get a job at a bank.
Yeah. So
So we get to float.
But absolutely yes, and we can. So this is a universal truth, and this is my message to humanity, that redheads are the coolest people. Absolutely, no doubt about that. Even with my brunette hair, it's not even a brunette hair; it's like black hair. We don't have. So this is the only hair color we have in India. So yeah, redheads are the coolest people. And thank you so much, Coco. You have been amazing. You're such a great sport, and all the best wishes for your career and your personal life. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joy. It was so nice to get to meet you and get to talk to you. Yeah, I hope someday in the future we get to chat again. And I will let you know about any future virtual shows that we have coming up, because why not watch it anywhere that you live?
Absolutely, yes. And thank you so much. And I love to have you back on my channel as well.